Hello, everybody. This is JC one more time. I was going to wait a while to write chapter 16 of my book entitled Todd, but frankly, I got to wondering about what was going to happen next. A lady friend of mine asked, "What are you going to write about next?" And I didn't know what to tell her. But I got to thinking about it, and it made me so curious. I decided just to sit down and start typing and see what happens. And so this is what happened. This is chapter 16 of my brand new book entitled Todd. When the rooster crows at the break of dawn. Great song, thought Leslie as she struggled to pry open sleepy eyes. She liked this song and the singer, Bob Dylan. Most of all, she liked the clock radio that woke her to her favorite music. It was a gift from her mom several Christmases ago. This morning she let it play for a while, enjoying the nasal quality of Bob Dylan's voice and the picture painted by the sentiment of the story he told. Don't think twice, it's all right. Somehow she related it to her situation with her brand new love, Todd Daniels. Les reflected on her last few weeks only for a brief moment, then got out of her comfortable bed and began to ready herself for today. She was excited about what was planned for today, going with Todd to explore their towns and their businesses, to become acquainted with the neighbors of this, her own town, Belton. Belton, Colorado was a medium to small town of about 42,000 people and had the qualities of both a growing medium-sized town and a comfortable small town. It was an active, robust, growing community, which still maintained the familiarities and comforts of a small, intimate town. She didn't know everyone in town, but when she said hello to someone passing by, they always smiled and responded with their own hello, as if they did know each other. She looked at herself in the large mirror over the wash basin as she brushed her teeth and washed herself and combed her hair. She saw a somewhat pretty girl looking back, but couldn't see the beautiful girl that Todd saw when he looked at her. As she considered her young body, a slight rush of excitement invaded her, and she took a quick breath or two. "Les," she told herself with a chuckle, "cool it. You have a long wait ahead of you, but you know it'll be worth it." Leslie briefly mulled over the new knowledge that she had gained yesterday and wondered what, if any, difference it would make between she and Todd. She thought none at all, and what her father told her reinforced her feeling that this was the beginning of a long and wonderful life with this boy she loved and wanted so much for herself. Todd and Les had agreed that she would leave her car at his house and they would leave from there in his car. They decided to forego breakfast at home and stop and eat at a cafe in the next town of Dexter. Todd was waiting in front of the house when Leslie arrived. She stopped at the curb and Todd walked to her car. "Changing plans," he said. "You drive, okay?" She pressed a button and the passenger side door lock clicked open. Todd slipped into the seat and slid over to Les and kissed her hello. She agreed to drive her car and said, "We don't want to break the law, do we?" She grinned and he said, "Now you're doing it to me." He wasn't as yet old enough to have a driving license, and she had guessed that was why she was driving. And they both had a laugh about it. They chatted on the short drive to Dexter. Todd recalled there was a Sinclair truck stop just a mile or so past Dexter on US Highway 40. Soon they slowly drove through Dexter, looking intently at the not yet awakened town. In a moment, they saw the truck stop, and Leslie pulled into a parking space right in front of the cafe. She locked the car, and she and Todd went inside. The cash register counter was directly in front of the entrance exit double door. The Trucker's General Store was to the left, and the cafe was to the right. There were booths along the long right side window and tables to the left. It was a good-sized seating area. Les walked to the third booth and sat down facing the rear. Todd sat across from her. Immediately, a very pretty waitress appeared with glasses of crystal clear water and menus. She placed the menus in front of them and smiled as she asked, "Would you like a minute before ordering?" Todd looked at Les, got a nod, and said, "Yes, thank you." The girl looked at Todd and smiled. "Okay, take your time. Call me when you're ready." And she turned and walked to the counter. Todd watched her walk away, and Les said, "That's not on the menu." Todd smiled at her but didn't respond. They ordered, and the waitress brought coffee and their orders. They ate mostly in silence, chatting only briefly and about nothing of any importance. When they finished, the waitress brought their ticket and put it on the table. The waitress spoke to Leslie. "Are you folks from here?" Les answered, "No, we're from Belton. We're just here to look the town over. We're in the hardware business." "Maybe move here?" she asked. "No, I don't think so," said Leslie. The waitress looked a bit disappointed. "Too bad," she said. "There aren't many people here the same age as my husband and me. It's hard to find anyone to pal around with." "Oh, you're married," said Les. "You don't wear your ring?" "No. The boss said I'd make more in tips if I take my ring off, and the men, like your husband, wouldn't watch me walk away as much with it on." She chuckled a bit at this. "Oh, you noticed that too, eh?" "Yeah, I keep track of stuff like that. It's good for business. Most of the drivers think it's worth an extra buck to get to look me over while I'm walking away." She smiled broadly at that. They both looked at Todd, and he nodded. "They're right," he said with a slightly coy grin, and he placed a folded $5 bill on the table as a tip. "Oh," said Todd. "Oh," said Todd. "How far is it to the next town north of here?" "It's Hugo, about 21 miles from here," the waitress said. "If you blink, you'll miss it. There's only about 400 people there. It's almost a ghost town. There's one small mom and pop grocery store on the main street. It has 2 gas pumps out front, and that makes up the entire business district. There are mostly mobile homes there." Todd Holt told her thank you, and he and Les slid out of the booth. As they started toward the cashier, the waitress reached out to Leslie with her right hand, and they shook hands. Then she did the same with Todd. She said, "I hope you folks decide to move here. It would sure be nice if my husband and I had some company our own age." Leslie said, "We'll see. Thanks for the service and information, and for your offer of friendship." Todd paid the check at the cashier's counter and took a copy of the receipt and put it in his shirt pocket. They both looked back at the waitress watching them, and they waved. She smiled and waved back, and they left the cafe. They got into the car and started it up, and in a moment or two, the truck stop was left behind them and out of sight. They didn't speak on the short trip back to Dexter. By now, some of the stores were opening, and there were people walking along the main street, going to wherever they were going. Todd had seen a hardware store on this main street when they came through earlier. Now he spotted it again and had Les to pull into the curb and stop. Les said, "I wonder if this store will be open already. It's still pretty early." Todd didn't answer right away. He had a funny look on his face. Les looked at him with questioning eyes, wondering why he didn't answer. She said, "Is something wrong?" Todd said, "Did I do something wrong at the truck stop?" by looking at the waitress. Les felt a little shock. She knew why he was asking the question, but didn't quite know how to answer it. "Oh, I didn't really mean anything when I said what I did. That's not on the menu. I guess I felt a little jealousy seeing you look her over." She knew immediately that she had said the wrong thing, and that she had also said the wrong thing earlier at the cafe. A small feeling of panic came over. "Oh, shit. Why did I say that like he was checking her out?" Now Todd smiled. "Well, sweetie, don't worry. I think I understand now that people say things sometimes that are off the wall and not serious and have no animosity." Right away, she realized Todd knew what she was thinking and understood. Todd said, you have no way of knowing. I've never been in a position like that before. I didn't think anything bad about the girl, just that she was pretty and polite. I haven't had the experience you have. I've never even had a date or been alone with a girl, and I'm not sure what I should or shouldn't say about things. Now that I'm with you, everything is brand new to me. But don't worry, baby girl. I understand now, and I'll be careful to not check out every pretty girl I see." Les grabbed Todd and pulled him to her and kissed him passionately. "You're so wonderful," she said. "You are just so wonderful." "Gosh," said Todd, looking past Leslie. Les looked around and saw a man and a little girl standing at the door of the hardware store watching them. "Oh, well, and a nice hello to them," she said quietly. Now, this is the end of chapter 16 of my book entitled Todd. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. This is JC.